Hello, fuck cape shit. Welcome to another episode of Shittywebcomics Weekly,
Another episode.
brought to you by our Subscribe Star
Are you
backers.
annoyed by that? Donate to us to stop us from saying that way.
Yes, donate more money to make us not say that anymore. Ain't no more. But the yeah, our Subscribe Star, it supports us. Become PayPeg. Donate to us if you want to know the truth. Don't donate to us if you don't want to know the truth. And you can hear about it.
You know somebody is for real legitimate when they actually need the money. If
Yes,
somebody doesn't need the money and they're asking for money,
then
they
they're
need to
fake.
fuck
Yeah,
off.
they're always a fucking fraud if they
If
don't need
somebody
the
is an
money, but they're
artist
asking
and
for
they're
money.
asking for your money to make a comic, you know that they're not real.
Yeah, and we're the ones who actually need the support, and we're the ones who, of course, are actually being deplatformed to the point where it's starting to look bad for the other people who tried to deplatform us, where they're now pretending that they were being deplatformed or that they are or something like that. But as they say, you can hear about it from Shitty Webcomics now or on Kiwi Farms in 5 years. Um,
If
Today,
ever.
we're just covering very just a simple comic that I kind of liked and I thought made a decent point, but also at the same time, could we could go into maybe a little bit longer, but it might be a short thing. But
Maybe it's a little
somebody,
too cutesy and twee, but otherwise, I understood.
it's
I
understandable. This was from September 14th of last year, 2022. So somebody named Medley20 saying making long form web comics is like, and then they draw a comic about it. So it just starts off. The first panel is, like a timeline that says intrigue, mystery, foreshadowing, hype, and tension, and then the big star mind blowing plot twist, and then character death trauma, and then another plot twist, and then the next panel is like a big zoom out of the timeline that shows before all the intrigue, mystery, foreshadowing is gratuitous, cute shit character growth, and just thing, other tiny details, and then story, and then way before all that is story start. You are here, and it reminds me of the kind of I've been seeing other people talk about world building as a concept and theory craft, of course, and of
Well,
course
theory
the
craft
that
is not really
quote.
related to comics, but this is something that if you're trying to do world building, that is something that will come into play.
It is, yeah, it's tricky. Specifically, how how to introduce world building? Do you just fucking um, well, I think of the way a lot of lazy creators would just plop it onto a bunch of narration captions right at the beginning, and that's a complete waste of time, and it's really unnecessary. But I think the actual having the world building in your mind is a good thing ahead of time, because then that can lead to actual character
That was actually
developments,
also
things for
something
your characters to do.
that was something that we were talking about when we were reviewing what's his face's comic, where it's like you don't have to explain this in the comic, but you should have thought about this at a time when they're fighting on a rooftop.
I was
It's
going to
like
say that
how
could
would they
be
get on the rooftop?
you could be describing anyone's comic, but yeah, fucking tiptoes, John De La Rose, one of the world leading thin skinned comic creator. Um, but yeah, it was clear that he had really almost no idea for world building or how to introduce it to his comic and that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's always an element of you come up with, oh, I want this fucking thing to happen in this comic here and at this point, but all that's going to be down the line, and it's like, how do I introduce that? And there's one thing, that old quote that's like, your story needs to be about the most interesting part of your character's life, and that's where a lot of in medias res comes from, which is it just means in the middle of things, and a lot of stories will start with a big dramatic moment where the main character's in some real
I
serious
about
trouble.
this, but apparently, fucking Berserk actually began with like showing guts with like the fucking metal arm and one.
Yeah, I think
What?
that was really where I think that's just what he wanted to make the comic. He just wanted to make a comic about a guy with a metal arm who fights demons, and then he was like, oh no, Army of Darkness, oh no, fucking that kind of shit, or Evil Dead, I think more specifically, perhaps. But
I have to respect that. That was his first thought was, oh no, this really great American movie that
classic,
everyone loves.
one of the
People
greatest.
are going to think I have fucking tried to rip it off.
Army of Darkness, that is one of the greatest. Fucking what, just wonderful. Ah, I love that movie so much. Evil Dead 2, I actually didn't see until I think last year. Um, I finally saw it, and I was like, "Oh shit, this actually is really good.
Oh shit!
It's really fun." Yeah, shit. Just fucking. I wasn't
Just
sure what.
over and over again.
It's just screaming shit. But the yeah, I've it's kind of funny. Well, this is why your first story also shouldn't be your fucking grand epic. What you should do is your first story should be like the shortest thing you can come up with, and then sort of throw it away, get it out there, get it made, so you've gotten the experience under your belt and that kind of shit. Um, and then also learning, how to um, get to the most interesting parts. And then usually, sometimes when you get to the fucking mind blowing plot twist, you realize that you've actually set up better, more mind blowing plot twists after that. And it's like, I could have just started at that point, couldn't I have? Do I need how much character growth do I need for the plot twist? You do need some, of course, but it's like, how soon can you get to it? How much space do you really need? How much, comic do you really need to be making before you even get to that point? Could you start with that? Now, theoretically, you can't start with that if the point is to blow everyone's minds. And I do think that you can do all the world building, and people should have plans for what's going to happen down the line in their story, but I think you shouldn't really write with that intent. I think you should write with the intent of just making the immediate part the best part, and you focus on that. Just have something in the notes, have your fucking world bible down, so that you know how to keep things consistent with what's going on the planet and that kind of shit. And have some nice extensive notes so that you know what happened, because the more things happen, I mean, it doesn't even take that much to happen to sort of lose track of your own continuity sometimes, um, especially when you got other things in your life to focus on. But
Especially if you've been rewriting something that you've been working on over and over.
yeah, that's another thing I've noticed. Yeah, after I rewrite something, it's like, oh, I gotta rewrite this to make it better, and then I realize it contradicts something else that happens, and it's like, well, it's a good thing I realized that, because if I did, that's why you gotta reread everything you've written too, to keep it
At least
straight.
if you're gonna fucking add something earlier, you want to fucking make sure it's like, okay, let's make sure that this doesn't have anything to do with a possible continuity
That
error.
reminds me, you mentioned relics in a previous episode of the weekly, the TNG
I
episode
did the TNG episode Relics, where fucking Jordy meets up with fucking
with Scotty. Yeah,
Scotty.
they find out Scotty was like sort of trapped himself intentionally in a
You
transporter
know,
pattern.
it's funny because now there's 3 episodes or 3 distinct areas that I am aware of in Star Trek lore where they bring back the ability to fucking like store yourself in the pattern buffer of a transporter. One is Relics, one is fucking Star Trek Elite Force 2, and then apparently they also do it in one of the new shows. One
Elite
of the
Force 2 probably
gay
did it
shows.
because of the Relics episode, but the thing is, you brought up Relics previously because at the end of the episode, I was like, I didn't remember because I hadn't seen the episode in fucking probably decades. So I'm fucking piled up
It's a
on
great
the
episode.
illegal piracy website. But you mentioned at the end they bring up the Leah Brahms thing, and he tells that to Scotty, and Scotty's like, "You
Oh yeah,
soured the milk," and it's
yes.
fucking It's a nice little moment that calls back to previous episodes that if you haven't seen the previous episodes, you can still get the context of it. That was the point about that. But the funny thing is, what I watched the episode last night and I realized it fucks up the continuity of Generations so bad because one of the first things that Scotty says when they fucking beam him in, when he comes back from the fucking being saved in the transporter buffer, is oh, Captain Kirk must have fucking sent somebody, and it's like, but you saw Kirk die on the Enterprise B. What are you talking about? But of course, this episode was written before Generations happened.
I'd still assume that he thought Kirk was not actually dead. Oh, they must have found Kirk. It doesn't matter.
But
he must have found Kirk alive.
It's the fucked up thing is he's the one who was there. Like, if it was anyone but Scotty, maybe, you know, but he was the one who actually saw the whole bottom of the ship was fucking just torn out. That had him in it. And it's like, fucking, if anyone would know that Kirk was dead, it would be Scotty and Chekhov.
There's no way. But
and again, that's the problem with them writing Generations, is that the continuity of that was fucked up by that. And there was other stuff where Scotty said that he had only been on 2 Enterprises, the fucking original one and the A. And the thing is that, again, in Generations, he was also on the B.
So basically, the problem is Star Trek Generations.
Another thing is that the computer points out that there has been only 5 ships that carry the name Enterprise. It's like, what about the NX-01 in Star Trek Enterprise? Which, again, that always bothered me because, like, they didn't have to name it Enterprise. It was a Star Trek show. People who liked Star Trek would have watched it anyways. It could have been called anything else, and they didn't. And I thought that was just kind of lame.
I mean, ultimately,
and that fucks up the continuity too.
One of the things is, ultimately, does it matter that much if they fudge the continuity for the sake of, like, really good storytelling?
Well, if they get it wrong over the course of, like, 30 years and 500 different writers, I understand that.
I can excuse that when we're talking about good storytelling and a good series, as long as it remains good.
Enterprise wasn't that good. Enterprise did have some good stuff in it, at least, but the same way that Voyager did, where it was like, you know, maybe 10% of the entire run of the show.
I mean, that's the real thing. Is like fucking. I can forgive this stuff for fucking like Enterprise. Some of the bad shows, but when it comes to fucking Discovery. Now you've had 4 seasons and the show is
that's the worst, because it's supposed to be like another prequel. And it's like, okay, we don't need prequels. We don't need to know the story of uninteresting shit to happen. And then it's like, now there's an entire fucking space spore network that the ship uses to travel. And it's like, hold on a fucking second. This is clearly a completely different, unrelated universe. You've gotten the entire... You're writing a different IP now. You're not writing Star Trek. Star Trek uses warp drive. That's one of the most famous things. You can't introduce a new form of travel that everyone somehow just forgot worked and nobody ever thought of before. That's stupid. Especially when Voyager has already existed.
It's not even that they're introducing a new idea. It's that they don't care.
It's a dumber idea, too.
Have this fucking idea working.
It's a terrible idea. But anyways, that all of that is irrelevant to this. When it comes to long-form webcomics, here's what I would say is a good way to think about this. When you think about, like, oh, I got all these plans for way down the line. What I would say is maybe consider thinking more episodically. Thinking about what's your first episode, where your first episode is going to have a plot twist in it. And your first episode is going to have these things that you want in the overall. Find ways to have smaller versions of them in your first chapter, or as soon as possible, something like that. Another thing you could do, consider having a character, a disposable character, that will be your protagonist for the beginning, that you can then get rid of when you want the person you want the real main character to be. Again, there's a lot of different approaches. None of them are necessarily right or wrong. And this person who made this comic, I think this is a good point. It's just about considering like where you are and versus where you want to be in your story. It's at least good to consider this because a lot of people who make comics don't even think about this kind of shit. Um, they also say, here's their comic that they're making, Tales from Elderwood. I have no idea if it's any good. I don't know if it matters. I just wanted to just do a little comic about this kind of thing. So just to start with, so I think that's all right. And we got some thoughts out there. Yay! I like to think I can write a blog. I have thoughts. So so that's it for now. Like, share, reshare, unshare, re-unshare, and donate. Become Pay Pig on our Subscribe Star for all the secret lore that will be what everyone else is saying in the following years, and should have listened to Shitty Web Comics.